Hey, what's up, Liron here, and in this video we're gonna paint this lovely statue based on a picture I took in Florence. Beautiful light and shadow, and I think what I want to focus on here is interpreting the light and shadow conditions you see and connecting. A lot of connections and a lot of flow because this statue is placed within a concave part of the wall, and it just adds an interesting dynamic around it, which is fun, I think. And I think I got some nice details there, nice values that make it look like it has volume and convincing. So with that being said, let's take it to the table and get started. So about the drawing, I actually traced this one, so I didn't share the process with you. I just went over the lines as I saw them because I just wanted to get to the painting stage. I will include a good picture of the line work so you can create that with me. You can use the grid method, which I talked about a bit recently, and that's a good way, I think, of getting the lines accurately if you don't want to, do it from observation, which is fine. For me, it was just a time constraint, honestly. But in any case, here we go. First wash. Now, unlike the previous statue I showed you, this time I do want it to have a warm underpainting to it. So to increase the warmness, this page is already tinted a bit, but I want to increase it. I'm going to use and mix a lot of yellow here, slightly neutralized, just slightly. And use it and apply it with a very watery wash so that I don't close down the spectrum of values that I get out of this. Okay, I do feel like the warmth here is so dominant that I would want it to be dominant. So this is the easiest wash you can do. You just get an even wash from that same mixture. Okay, I'm not going to do any wet in wet here, nothing. I just want this to be a true underpainting, if you will. It's not even an initial wash, it's just an underpainting to make the temperature a little warmer. That's pretty much it. That's the only purpose of this wash. Hopefully it will dry fairly even because I didn't play around with it too much. And once it dries, we'll come back and we'll start establishing shadows and also possibly play with warm and cool temperatures. So this is fully dry. The first wash took some time and it buckled the paper, but I used the hairdryer and it flattened it. Now, as you may have noticed, my emphasis with this painting is going to be flow and merging as much as possible, really caring for the largest shapes. So if you look at this shape, this is just one shape all the way to the bottom. There's a big shadow here connected to the shadow. I'm going to connect the shadows of the background with the shadows of the face, okay? So it's these kinds of things you want to pay attention to. Now, in terms of temperature, I'm going to observe it and do the best I can to be loyal to what I see. And what I actually see is a bit of warmth up top. So let me start with that kind of a thing. And you see it's still a very watery wash, which is great, because that's going to help me to keep it even, keep it good looking. Now here you get this, see this edge that goes in, very thin, and then connects here. It's one of those things you don't necessarily want to worry about this much, especially if you're focusing on flow, but I did want to convey that. Now here, let me add a bit of coolness, because right around here, the wash feels to me to get a little cooler. Okay, I can't really describe that, but if you look at a reference photo, it's also a matter of feeling, really, because, temperature, you just look at it and you feel, oh, it looks cool, it looks warm, it feels cool, it feels warm. But in any case, so similarly to the flutist example, we're painting around the shape of the statue. And what you really want to pay attention to is the edges of the shape. So here we have an edge, and this goes and tucks behind this part that's beveled outside and then goes like this. And that's how we create essentially the shape of the head. We have quite some time to focus just on this section, so might as well show it to you up close. Now, remember I said I'm gonna merge the shadows that I see on the statue with the background. So here's exactly where I'm gonna do that. We do have the right side of the face in shadow. So we'll do that. The eye socket connects to shadows from the hair that connect completely to the background, really. So here we go. There's a shadow on the right side. What you want to do is leave enough water here so that it continues flowing wherever you stopped, okay? wherever you stopped, you want to leave a bit of a bead, a bit of water, and like that. So this connects to the beard on the right, like that, and this connects to this shadow, okay? Narrating it makes me a little slower. Ideally, you'd work a little faster, okay? Just a little faster. Mouth. Here you can't work fast. Sorry, sorry, I don't want to confuse you, but in the very small sections, you'd work a little slower indeed. You'd work faster overall when it comes to moving from section to section. Okay, you don't, and generally speaking, slow is better. I know I talk a lot about speed in watercolor, but slow is better. So you just want to make sure that overall you're not losing the freshness. But as long as, I would say you have to work the slowest you can, but still maintaining the flow, okay? That will be ideal. So now this shadow follows the shape of the cloth, but we're done with this section, luckily for us. Now let's use this opportunity to charge some of these areas with paint and do some wet and wet. So I'm gonna mix a bit of a darker mix here. And I can go very dark because it's wet and wet, so you'll get a lot of wetness and it's gonna dry lighter no matter what. But you see we have a shadow here, this, and obviously under this arch just gets it a little darker. The shadow behind the face is actually darker, so let me just darken it up a bit to make a differentiation between the shape and the background, the face, sorry, and the background. There's a bit of a darker shadow under the beard, and we're done with this part. Let's move on downwards. Now the temperature here is getting cooler and cooler, so I'm gonna use more blue, and part of the beauty is those changes and transitions in temperature, okay? So blue, and don't forget I'm glazing that blue over a warm yellow. And that's gonna make it glow a bit as well. It's a known phenomenon, so many artists talk about. You glaze warm over cool or cool over warm and you get this interesting glow effect. I talked about it in several videos and multiple processes. Now I'm gonna move this a little up, like so. Work my way around the shape. And as you see, there's a darker shadow close to his head. That's something we'll have to take into consideration. This area is already probably dry, but ideally I would love to put in some... Oh, it's still wet. Lucky for us, we used very wet paint, so it's still wet. And we can work our way into it like that. Sorry, messed it up a bit, but that's fine. It's not gonna be really significant in the grand scheme of things. A bit of a dark shadow all the way to the edge here. Sorry, I just figured you can't see anything. So here it is, just put in dark in here. Let it blend. A bit more dark close to the statue. So I'm gonna go like that, near its edges. I'm gonna need more paint and to get it to show something, you know, you're doing wet and wet, you need a lot of paint. It has to be sometimes very thick. But here we go, just close to the edge of the figure. Now here we have a lot of interesting things going on. So we have this shape going around the head, or the beret, what do you call it, a beret? I don't know what you'd call it, but that he's holding. But then it also connects to the shadow on the hand. Let me straighten this shape up, connect it to the shadow under the sleeve. Connect that with the shadows here. See? And this is easier than many other watercolor things because it's kind of similar to drawing. You have a lot of control. Okay, you're just filling in the shapes. But in any case, this connects to the shadow on the hand, it connects to shadow on the beret, and this also connects to some shadows here for the folds and creases on it. You see? And that slowly builds up its shape. Now here we're we're gonna be in trouble if we don't wrap this section up. So let's wrap this section up real fast. See here? Like so. And then start working on the section up above because that still has a lot of different details in it. I'm gonna show you why. Because I said I'm gonna connect the background with the actual statue, remember? Which means that I have to do the shadows here under whatever he's wearing, the tunic, I suppose, like that. And this will convey he's wearing something that's a little, I don't know if you'd call it beveled, but you know. And I'm gonna close this off real fast here. That's it, we're done with this left section for now. We'll work our way around the middle like that, and I actually like that the brush is running out of paint. You'll see in a moment why. But this entire thing is in the shadow, really. So here we go, fairly light shadow. And then going over his leg like so. See how the shape starts to, I don't know, just come to life, like so, around here. Now here's where you want to do the wet and wet really fast before anything dries. So let me show you. Anything that's in the deep shadow, I'm gonna go with same brush for this one because it's a bit of a darker, larger area. And you see how I'm putting in wet and wet, and this makes a separation between his legs and the shadow in the distance, in the background, sorry. See, same goes here. I'm gonna put this shadow in because there's a shadow right next to him. Oops, messed it up. Just gonna get some tissue, that happens. Like that, that's fine. Not the end of the world, we're gonna patch it up later on. We can also try and lift it, it's not a big deal. And quickly, before this dries, because I actually lifted some paint there, do the whole wet and wet here. I actually made a small mistake, I'm gonna fix it in a moment. But here you see there's a bit of a statue behind the leg that's lighter than the darkest shadow, so it's important to keep that in. Okay, this gets a little darker here, but we'll get to that in just a moment. Before that, I actually want to make another connection to the tunic itself, like so. And I exaggerated it a bit. Let's make this a little sharper and maybe even dab a bit of it. What did I want to do? I think now you see me kind of working in emergency. I'm gonna wet this now while it's still not fully dry, and then pick it up again like this. Just make it a little bit better. But in the grand scheme of things, it's not gonna come in the way of our impression. Oh yeah, I also wanted to add a mid shadow on the leg itself that I completely forgot about, under the knee, and then on the edge of the leg, all the way here through this muscle on the inside part of the leg, and some folds and creases in the cloth. And now we can continue on to the right section. Let me mix some more paint here because I'm running out. More water, more paint. You need a lot of it really to hold the wash properly. But now we have these details on the cloth. I jumped straight to them because sometimes something gives you inspiration, you just go for it. And that's one of these instances. I just love the way it looked, so I wanted to put it in there. Fingers all in the shadow actually. We just have a bit of a patch of light here. Let me show you around here. See this? And going around this shape of shadow like that. And going around this. This is all in the shadow, so I'm gonna just go right ahead and connect it. Forgot to add some creases in the cloth here too, but in any case, here we go. This is almost entirely in the shadow. We actually have a highlight within that. All of these highlights are gonna indicate the shapes of the muscles, okay? And if you do a good job, it will read properly as the muscles, and if you don't, it will look a little weird and strange, and that happens to me a lot, so don't worry if that's happened to you too. And here we can go around the shape of the foot, like that. Here we go. Around this, there's a step here, and then there's a shadow there. And then there's a bit of a, I don't know, rock tile thing going on here. It's a statue, after all. And a bit of a shadow on the leg. Let me show you here. Like that. Obviously a shadow between the leg and that stone tile, and a shadow here that casts downwards. And with that, we're pretty much done with the lower section. Now let's go back up a bit and start putting in these shadows. I don't want to go too blue. You see there's a shadow here, a little darker. So I'm going to start with the dark center and then work my way outwards into the lighter sections, okay? So this goes up, and this goes sideways, and this goes like that. See? All of these folds and creases in the cloth. Same goes for this section that I forgot to put in earlier. Bunch of details on the sleeve, usually where the elbow is and all of that, you'll get some more creases where the cloth bunches up. We have a shadow behind the statue as well, like so. This goes down like that. There's a bunch of things here that are a little hard to read, to be honest, so I'm doing my best, but I'm not gonna get each and every one of these shadows in. There's the belt thing here, like this. This is connected. More shadows around the hand. This entire thing is going to be connected, just to make it simpler. I don't even care if it's connected or not in the real thing. Shadow under the thumb, shadow for the right side of the hand, shadow inside the sleeve. With that, I think we're almost done, actually. We're almost done with this entire painting. Let me, I want to work a bit more on the face. Let me just add a couple of small details with a smaller brush this time. Now it's just a matter of looking at it, figuring out what's missing, what will benefit this, and adding that. And trying not to add much more. Because if something doesn't play a role, you don't really need it. But you see now I'm patching up the shape of the face a bit. Now there are a bit of, the stone details. Let me get that in. So around here, this goes at a bit of a curve, and then it connects to the edge of the concave part, like that. Same goes down here as well. And actually, we do have a couple of shadows here, so let me get that in. We have one line. That's one hell of a brush mark. And then we have this entire section in the shadow that will go something like this and leave a highlight. And I don't mind the dry brushiness of some of this. It will actually work in our favor. And then I'm going to grab the larger brush, get some more paint, and continue this shape around here. Like so. And aside from that, I don't think we need much more. So here we go. I'm quite pleased with how it turned out. However, there is one thing we can do. It's a bit of a risky move, but I always encourage you to try and take risks and then learn from it rather than feel regretful for not trying it. There is a bit of a variation from light to dark on the statue itself. Now I didn't reflect it in any way here, so I do want to do that, and I think it will make it feel a little more three-dimensional. So we're gonna just apply a very thin wash. Don't be scared, I know it looks a little dark. A major mistake you can do now is to try and lighten it more, because then it won't be visible, trust me. But go as watery as you can. And just try to follow where it's slightly darker. See? The right section is ever so slightly darker. And I'm just gonna glaze over it with this very thin wash, fairly warm wash, by the way. This entire thing has to be covered. This thing here, see? See how it makes it just look a little more three-dimensional? I'm going to go over all of these shapes here, add some definition to the folds and creases using this very same wash. Add a bit of a, there's a bit of a shadow going on here, just a bit of it. Obviously here, on the hand, a bit on the arm, on the hand itself, sorry, like that. A bit around here, and this just helps to better define the shapes. See? Just makes it a little more three-dimensional. A bit of a risky move. You want to make sure you don't go even just a little too dark here. Okay, a bit here, a bit there. This can be a little darker to bring out the lightness of the statue. And I think, a bit more connection there, a bit more connection here, a bit more of that here. And I think now we're truly done. And notice the difference it made. It just makes it pop. And it's gonna dry even lighter than that, so we really don't have much to worry about. Now what I could do is grab this small brush yet again and start adding some small touches and details, but honestly, I don't feel like it's necessary for the statue itself. Maybe just within the shadow, you see these lines? If I just mirror them in the shadow, so kind of like that. Sorry, that goes like this maybe. A bit more paint and flow, and then it goes like that. There's a shadow under this section. You see, you'll always discover more things that you can add. You just want to make sure you stop in time. There's actually another shadow here to the left, like this. I'm going to try and get it to be as stable as I can, but I don't want to go touch the wet areas. Like that. A little thicker maybe. A bit of the details of the architecture here. There is another line there, not as important really. A bit of that here. Like that. But I think we're done now. It has a really nice look to it. I think really nice definition. The tape is not going to do a huge difference here, but we will remove it. I'm going to film it off camera and then show you the final result. So here we go, final result, tapeless. And it actually did create a nice little border. I wasn't expecting it to improve it this much. But just a fun one. I hope you enjoyed painting it with me. A lot of these where you can interpret the reference into two values, or maybe just do an initial quick wash and then add on top of that a shadow. They're just very useful, especially if you're nervous about watercolor, if you're nervous about preserving wetness and all of that. You can just focus on painting the shapes you see, and the more you prepare in the drawing stage, the more information you'll have to work with in the next stages as well. Okay, I hope that makes sense. So if you need more details to paint, go ahead and add those in. Draw them in more clearly so that you have a clear roadmap. I like to keep the drawing stage fairly empty and make myself use the paint more, but you can do whatever you want. And with that, let's wrap it up. So this is it for this one. I hope you enjoyed seeing the process. Let me know if you have any questions down below. And as I updated you, or I may have not yet updated you, I started an online gallery because a lot of people have been asking me where I can buy the paintings, where can I see them, different sizes. In the past, people would reach out on Instagram, I'll just let them know, but I decided to make something a little better, so I will link it down below, probably in the video description. You can check it out, the paintings that already are there, and I will add more and more gradually. So I want to thank you so much once again for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you still haven't. I'm really happy and grateful to have you here, and really am grateful for giving me your time and actually watching the videos. With that being said, we'll wrap it up, and I'll talk to you again real soon.